Hailing from the great cold state of Alaska, I am the Frozen Gamer. Today begins a new series called Dads in Gaming, where I interview fellow dads who not only game, but who are content creators. That content may or may not be gaming related, but every one of these gentlemen are passionate both about gaming and about being dads. So joining me today for the very first Dads in Gaming is a very special guest. He is known by strangers as Dirks Bentley, and by his community as the narcoleptic Tiger Claw.
Yes, thank you.
One of the founding fathers of Married to the Games podcast, Mr. Tim Rauter.
Hey, thank you so much, man. I love it. That's hilarious. I totally forgot the whole Dirks Bentley thing too. And of course the narcoleptic Tiger Claw. That was a classic moment in Married to the Games history. So it was so much fun. How are you, brother, man? What's going on in your world besides, it being cold up in Alaska and whatnot?
Yeah, it's actually not that cold right now, but it's it's pretty standard. 3 kids and all that, and
yeah, man.
My poor 2-year-old is having some challenges with just lots of diaper rash and stuff, and he's having a rough time right now, but otherwise
I do not miss those days at all.
What's even more fun is trying to potty train my 4-year-old, and it's just we're on the second phase of it, so trying to get him to it's
all I can say is thank God I had a girl. I just have the one. She's 8 years old. Her name's Piper, and she was actually what we ended up doing with the potty training. She was 2 at the time, and we did it over Christmas break because that's usually when everything slows down for us at work and everything. So we kind of veg out during that time, and so we hit the ground running with the potty training. And she caught on really quickly, and I think she also didn't like the feeling of being wet anyway. Mm-hmm. So that totally helped a lot too. But we had a cooking timer bell. And we basically just timed it every 20 minutes and then bing, and we'd run to the bathroom, and even if she didn't have to go, she would go. So I'm pretty sure I've scarred her for life. So like when she's 30 and like a cooking timer goes off, she might wet herself. I don't know. We'll have to see. But it'll be interesting. But that was our experience with the potty training. But man, you've got diaper rash, you got all kinds of fun stuff going on. Isn't it fun to be a dad?
It really is. So obviously this new series, the main focus is going to be really just kind of talking about those 2 main topics, is fatherhood and gaming. And
nice.
I think that before we get into any of that, we probably should kind of back up a little bit for those who are not familiar with the Married to the Games podcast. So can you just go ahead and give a sales pitch, basically?
Sure. Yeah, not a problem. So Married to the Games started, I can't believe I'm saying this, like 7 years ago. It just kind of came out of, my wife owns a retail store here in Franklin, Tennessee. And one of the girls that was working there, her husband, Tim Hall, we all had dinner once and we were just talking, and he turns out that he's a gamer. And I had just recently, as an adult, gotten into video games. I really didn't play a ton of video games growing up as a child. So I didn't have the NESs and the SNESs and all that fun stuff. Either it didn't really click with me or I just didn't have it. And, I would play arcade games when I would go to the beach and that kind of stuff. And, play Dragon's Lair and all those fun games like that. But I never really had an actual home entertainment system for myself. So in 2011, on my wife and I's anniversary, we were at Costco and there was a bundle for the PS3 with Uncharted 2. And I had like a Costco gift card and everything. And Lauren, my wife, was just like, go ahead. So I went ahead and bought the console. And then from there, I was just hooked. Like I started, my first game as an adult was Uncharted 2, which was a great game. And so like I just really kind of fired up this passion for video games. So when I found out that Tim Hall played video games as well, we were just talking. And so throughout a couple weeks, because he would come into the store or, we'd go out to dinner or what have you, like we just got to know each other more and more. And, he was interested in some podcasting stuff. And I'm like, man, podcasting, that sounds like a great idea. And so he and I were talking about it. And then I was like, man, I've got another buddy of mine who I think would totally be into this. And it's this guy, Gabe Patillo. And so I had known Gabe for a long time because his wife also worked at my wife's store. So the funny thing is Married to the Games all came from my wife, essentially, because she owns a stationery and gift store here in downtown Franklin, and she's had it for about 17 years. And so, we hire part-time people. We now have full-time people. And so, people come and go. And so we've had several people who've worked for us who are now really good friends of ours. And the Patillos, of course, is one of them. And so I sat down with Gabe and talked to him about it. Like, dude, what do you think about doing a podcast? I got this other guy, Tim Hall. And the name just kind of came, like we were thinking about Married to the Games. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. So our first pilot episode, Tim Hall and Gabe Patillo had never even met each other yet, just through like email or through text and just through our recording. So like I think we started in September of, what was that, 2013. And then they met each other physically for the first time like a month later at our Halloween party. But we just kept doing the podcast, and it was all about, games and life and game. It's kids, wives, 9 to 5s, but we're still married to the games. And it has really grown in the past 7 years. Tim Hall became a father, and then he had moved out to California, and he wanted to focus on his family. And so it was Gabe and I, and then we brought in 2 other co-hosts, Ed Placencia and Chris McCracken, and it's just been the 4 of us ever since. And that's like Chris and Ed are married. We all have jobs. Gabe and I are the ones that have kids, and Gabe is on the road as a performer with Toby Mac, and it's just one of those things where we just all collectively get together every week and hang out and talk about games and life and married life. And throughout this whole podcast, we've gone through kind of all kinds of things, and we bring our community along with us. Like, we ask our community to post your questions on Twitter and Facebook, and we want to be as interactive with our community as possible, and we play with our community members online games as well. And man, we've just grown this amazing community, and Nathan, I know you're part of it as well, and you could probably speak for it too, but this community that we've grown is pretty much like a family, and everybody is just looking out for everyone. We're all very respectful of one another, and we just, every time we jump on it and play a game together, I feel like we're laughing and just having a great time. And that's what, to us, that's what gaming is all about, is building this incredible community that just kind of grows together. And through the podcast, we've had, deaths in the family, and we've had, all kinds of kind of trials and tribulations, and we publicly talk about it, and we're pretty open about those kind of things. And I think it just brings everybody together. So the whole idea of Married to the Games is, we're older. We're not, young teenagers. We're an older bunch of guys. We're all married, and some of us have kids. And how do we juggle that and our passion and love for gaming? And so that's what it's evolved into. And it's been so much fun. It really is kind of just a part of my life. Like, this isn't a full-time job for us. All of us have our own jobs, but it's like a hobby, but it's more than that now. I feel like it's like a family, and we just, like, I look forward every week, and we may not all talk to each other throughout the week, but as soon as we jump on and start recording the podcast, it's like we never left each other, and we have so much fun, and just talk about games and having a good time. And so that's pretty much where it stemmed from. And we're coming up on our 400th episode, and we're doing a live show here in Franklin. We do it every century, where whoever can come out, any listeners and community members can come out, and we just all get together and we record an episode and we hang out, and everyone gets to meet people face to face, and we play video games. And man, we've been doing this. It will be that 400 marks. That's 400 weeks straight. We have not missed a single week of the podcast. Now, members of us, like a lot of us, have missed 1 or 2 here or there, but we try and stay consistent as possible. And so yeah, it's right now it's 389 weeks straight of doing a video game podcast with 3 other guys that are just, they're like my brothers. So it's just so much fun. So that was the short/long side of it, and I like to talk, so there you go.
There you go.
So, yeah, that's how it all started.
Yeah, it's actually, I remember I started listening, I want to say it was around April of 2013, So you guys would have actually
Okay.
started in 2012. Because I
Yes, that's right then.
I
Yep.
started listening. I think you guys were about episode 30 when I started listening, and I went back to the first episode.
Yep, you're
and
right.
Just started
So shoot,
from there, and then caught
yeah, we'll be
up.
going on 8 years.
Yeah. So
We'll be going 8 years in September. Wow, that's awesome. So you're one of the early ones too, which is really awesome. And it was it's just like anything else. It's just a slow build, and just we stayed consistent. And we know that there's tons of video game podcasts out there. Like I used to listen to a lot of podcasts too, but I don't really have that much of a commute anymore. So I don't listen to a ton of podcasts just because I have I work from home or I work from my wife's store, and that's 5 minutes away. So there's not a whole lot of downtime in the car to listen to podcasts or anything like that, unless it's long trips, and then I do. But yeah, it's just fun, man, and we've just grown such an amazing community of people.
So, I mean, you kind of touched on some of these questions already, and so I'm not going to cover all the things I was going to. But
Yeah, no worries.
I mean, what would you say it is that keeps the podcast going? I mean, obviously, the fact that you've kept this thing going for coming up on 8 full years.
I know. I can't believe it.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
I just sorry. I just want to say I think it's really amazing, because I know when I tried doing a podcast with some friends for a while, we just had problems with being able to do it consistently, and then after a while it just fizzled out and never went anywhere. So eventually I wanted that outlet and just decided, okay, I'm going to do stuff with the YouTube and just have a way to talk about video games.
And honestly, I love that. I love that you did that. You saw something and you're like, well, okay, that may not work, so let's try this instead. For us, a lot of it is just we do focus on consistency, and one of the things that we've always preached is we want to be excellent in everything, even down to the details. And we just want to have good quality audio. We want to make sure that we're on point with everything. It's a family friendly podcast too, so we don't mouth off or do anything like that. And we like that aspect of it. And it can be challenging though, because Gabe's out on the road, Chris has a 9 to 5. Ed has a 9 to 5. I have I'm self-employed, so I can kind of do whatever and be whatever. So what ends up happening is we just kind of get together on Monday and just chat it out and figure out what time's a good time. And typically what we end up doing is either a late night, like starting at like 10 o'clock at night, or we do an early morning at like 5:30 in the morning. And that's usually how we do it. And it's just, I think it just all vibes with us. We all get it. We all know that there are other priorities ahead of this podcast, but at the same time, especially now after almost 8 years, like we feel like we just owe it to continue to keep going, and so we just make time for it, and so I think it helps that my other 3 co-hosts are super laid back, and everyone's just really great with one another, and so we all get along great, and so that makes it super easy. So I mean, even with Tim Hall back in the day, like we would either do early mornings or evenings. Like that whole format has never really changed from day one. And when Tim had said that he was going to move on, Gabe and I just sat down. We're like, all right, if we have to do a show, just the 2 of us, we will. But we already had in mind some people that were potentials who we've known for a while too. So a lot of it is just the desire to be consistent, and the desire to we want to do this. We want to talk about things, because we also love games too. Like, I don't know all the news that's going out in the world with gaming. I'm not a huge message board person. I'm 45 years old, and I consider myself a video game man child. I love video games, but I'm not out on the message boards all the time, like looking for stuff. So I actually, I look to the podcast as well for some of the latest news on what's going on, because I don't necessarily know it either, and I haven't actively seeked it out. And so it's something fun that like I enjoy doing. And every time that Gabe does that, oh yes y'all, like I just have a smile on my face as soon as we start recording. It's just so much fun.
Yeah.
So it helps that you have a good group of people that want that excellence, that want that consistency. And look, we're not out here to make a ton of money, and we're not making a ton of money at all. We do it for the love of games, and we do it and especially now, we do it for the love of this amazing community that we've built, and that we're so proud of, because you hear it in the news and just everywhere. Just go on any Twitch stream, and there's so much negativity and so much like darkness out there, and like that is just not us at all. We don't want to project that. We want to be a positive community, and we've heard some stories of people who have jumped on like an Overwatch session with us who we didn't necessarily know, or they were friends of some listeners, and we heard them say later, like, man, these guys are really cool, and everybody's just really respectful, and like we're just here to have fun and play games, and so it's just super cool.
Yeah, very much so. I can definitely say that throughout all the years that I've been listening to you guys, it's always been a very positive thing. And obviously there are times where there's disagreements, and like I'd get on you guys' case about Nintendo sucks kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is you guys have been consistent throughout all these years, and I've really appreciated that as a listener.
Yeah, and we're not here to argue over anything either, because for me, gaming is so subjective, and it's so it's just your personal taste. I am not a huge Nintendo person. I own a Switch because Piper wanted one for Christmas. Do I play it often? Yeah, every once in a while. I do love Mario Kart and that kind of stuff. But I'm on my console of choice is a PlayStation. I've got the PS4 Pro. I don't really play Xbox because for me, I like the controller of the PlayStation more, and I think Sony has, for me, better games because I'm a story adventure kind of a guy, and I think Sony has some great first-party developers that are putting out really good story games that I gravitate to more. And that's it. It doesn't mean I don't like anything else, and I wouldn't support what any of the other companies are doing. But it's also good to have those disagreements, because then you can see it from somebody else's perspective too. And so, like, an open, very transparent conversation, I think, works far better than just like yelling at each other back and forth. There's no time for that anymore. Nobody needs that. We have enough of that now in the world anyway. So why bother? Let's just talk about games we like and go from there.
Exactly. All right. So let's see here. How do you respond to people who think that you're too old to be gaming?
Yeah. And sorry if my dogs are barking, because probably somebody's by the door, and I'm at the office, which is in the front. I embrace it. I'm not embarrassed by it at all, because I know that there are so many people that are like me that game, and they may not advertise it, but I'm honestly, I am a kid at heart. Like, Lauren always jokes with me that sometimes I get more in trouble more than Piper does because Piper and I feed off one another, and I like that. I want to be Peter Pan, basically. I want to never grow up. And yes, I have adulting responsibilities because of me being a husband and a father, and you have all that stuff, but this is really my channel, my avenue. This is how I decompress, is I video game. And like, I would take that more than any other vice in anywhere else, because it could be far, far worse. But I'm playing video games because I enjoy them. I'm challenged by them. I think it keeps me mentally strong as well. There's so many things that I enjoy. So I'm like, we've had this discussion on the podcast too, because Gabe sometimes goes, "Hey, yeah, I play video games," and he kind of hides it under his breath. And I'm like, man, I play video games. I love video games. It's my thing. Like, it's what I enjoy doing. And I was up this morning and I was playing Sekiro, and I freaking loved it. And I'm like, especially when you're in on a game, like, I can't wait to get up in the morning and start playing that. So it's, I don't have a problem. If somebody wants to say you're a child, yeah, that's fine. I am. I want to stay young. I want to stay young for my daughter. I want to be around for my daughter. I want to, be there for my wife, and just have fun. Like, life is too short to be arguing and being, whatever. Just go have fun. And if you want to play video games, play video games.
Exactly. I think that's definitely a good way to approach it, because I'm kind of like Gabe. I get kind of shy about talking about video games in front of people, especially because there's a lot of people who they hear that you play video games and they're like, "Oh, aren't you a little old for that?" And
right.
I mean, of course, the reality is like, I'm right in the target demographic, basically.
Yes.
But
exactly.
But it's something that a lot of people, they just have misconceptions about how gaming has evolved over the years. I mean, yeah, sure, back in like the 70s and 80s, you know, when gaming was in its infancy, it was more kids that were playing it. But especially like, you know, starting with the NES, and you know, when Nintendo really kind of brought video games back out of the gaming crash, you know, things started evolving more, and
Yeah.
you found that more and more, like, the people who started playing those video games got older, and now you have, you know, people like me who grew up in the 90s during what was the heyday for at least the earlier time of games, or earlier time, you know, in my 30s with kids, and you know, video games have grown up with me, but at the same time there's also plenty of the family friendly stuff. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think, you know what, and we've talked about this many times on the podcast too, is that I think there is this stigma about video games, that video games equals violence, video games equals very aggressive 12-year-olds yelling at you all the time. Like there's so much that there's a lot of negativity out there for video games, and so I think that just latches on to the general public anyway. And you know, they always have these studies that violent video games do this, that, and the other. And to be honest, like, we've had these discussions before, and my personal opinion is, I think that's inconclusive evidence to begin with. I think it's a very, like I said, it's a subjective thing, so it's a personal thing for people, and some people gravitate more to different types of video games than others. And it's just, I think you just have this general population of people that are like, video games equals negativity, video games equals, you know, just young kids yelling at each other. And you know, like, think about it, one of the first things, if you ask anybody on the streets, like, what video game do you know about, it's probably either Fortnite or Minecraft or Call of Duty. And that, you know, those are the main ones that people talk about. But you don't hear somebody talking about some of these other amazing games out there that all of us play. So yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. I kind of just take it lightly and know that I play video games. I enjoy video games, and I'm fine with it. And that's me.
yeah.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah, there was this, I don't know if it was actually like a real propaganda type ad from the 90s, or if it was something fake that was made to look like it was from
I remember
the 90s.
it.
But
Yep.
it was this thing of a kid playing some game. I don't know, it was like probably Mario or something, with a friend, and then the friend beat him, and then later on he ended up like smashing his friend's head in, or something like that.
Yeah.
It was something ridiculous. Oh, it was Tetris.
Oh, nice.
It's like, yes.
Yeah, because Tetris will make you bash your friend's head in. Yeah, absolutely. Holy smokes. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think just growing up, when people don't understand something and don't understand a culture like this, they immediately go to whatever's in the news, and unfortunately, whatever makes the news is usually bad for video games. You don't hear about the Extra Life campaigns that happen every year, where, you know, millions of dollars go toward, you know, kids who are sick in hospitals. Like, you don't hear that stuff in the news. All you hear about is, you know, swatting, and like all these streamers just cussing or getting banned, or like just all this other stuff. There's so much more to it than that, and it's, you know, but that's just the nature of it. I think it's the nature with anything that has kind of like a subculture. But at the same time, video game industry is a beast and is destroying everybody, from music to movies. Like, they are an industry to be reckoned with, and so with that is going to come criticism anyway, because of its popularity.
And you know, the thing is, people always want to find an explanation for stuff that happens in the world, and
Of course.
mean, there's any number of different things you could use to explain what happens. Most of the time, you know, like these situations of extreme violence and everything, it has absolutely nothing to do with media whatsoever, because these are the kind of things that happened maybe a little bit differently when technology was different, but
Right.
you know, that happened even when there were no movies. It happened, you know,
Exactly.
when there were
People are still murdering people left and right.
Exactly.
It's kind of human. It's human nature. It's the environment that they're in. It's their personality. It's how they process. It's their emotional level, their physical level. There are so many factors in there to try and like blanket it over one thing that says this one thing is what's creating violence in our nation and in the world is preposterous, because there's so many other things that affect that as well.
Right. Okay, so let's get back into just kind of like more of the lighter topics here.
Hey, okay, yeah, we went a little heavy there,
we got
and that's
a little too
fine.
heavy but what would you say are your top 5 games of all time, or even just your top 5 games right now?
Okay, yeah. So because I came in late to the game, so I'm really just going on a lot of the things that I know I've spent hours playing. Currently, right now, I'm playing Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. I played. And this, I had kind of a recent revelation in that I was like, you know what? I'm going to try a From Software game. I'd never played Dark Souls or anything like that. Bloodborne was free on PlayStation Plus a while ago. So I fired it up and really started to enjoy those type of games. And then when Sekiro came out, I finished Bloodborne, and then Sekiro came out, and I'm like, you know what? I might as well keep going. And this game has become one of my favorites, definitely. I would say of all time, I mean, because I'm still playing it and it's still relatively new, I'll put that at number 5 right now, just because I'm loving that. But a couple other games that I put a ton of time on and just thoroughly enjoy, I'm going to say, let's see, 4 could be... probably, let's see, 4 would be Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Okay.
That's the one I put the most amount of hours in. I think I put 150 hours into that game. I loved that game. I've always been a huge Assassin's Creed fan. After Uncharted 2, the first Assassin's Creed game I played was Brotherhood, and I actually ended up playing that twice. I loved that game. But I think Odyssey kind of has it over. The Brotherhood is probably more for nostalgia for me, but as far as how much I enjoyed and how much time I put in, Odyssey would probably be in there. Number 3 would probably be... I would say it might be a toss-up between BioShock Infinite and Horizon Zero Dawn. I loved both of those games equally. I don't know. There's just something about those games that I really enjoyed. BioShock Infinite was a weird one because we all slept on that game. When it first came out, we were like, man, it's, I didn't play it until probably 6 months after it came out. And when I did, I was like, oh, holy cow. And ended up getting the BioShock collection and played 1 and 2 as well because of it. But yeah, I think I'll go with BioShock Infinite and Horizon Zero Dawn as a tie for 3. 2 is going to be The Witcher 3 for me. I just loved that game. I loved Geralt. I loved the fantasy realm of that whole thing. I loved the combat mechanics. It was really fun because you had some magic with swords and parrying and being able to dodge, and I thought it was pretty crazy. And then my number 1 game of all time will be The Last of Us. I think just the story of it, the first 10 minutes of that game, I got super emotional about it, and I've played that game twice as well. And just, I think anytime somebody who's new, who likes stories, that wants to get into video games, and I've done this with 2 other of my friends, I just handed them The Last of Us. I said, go. And one of my friends finished it in the weekend. He said, Tim, that was the greatest game I've ever played. And I'm like, yep, that's exactly right. So, you know what? I'm also going to throw in as a bonus God of War. Probably, I'm going to put that actually at 3. I totally forgot about that because I'm kind of going off the cuff right now. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put God of War at 3 because that game, never played any of the other ones, but that game, I platinumed that game. I put a lot of time in that game. Loved the characters, loved the relationship in that story as well. And Santa Monica Studios they just hit it out of the park. I loved. Did you ever see the documentary for that too?
No, that's one of those things I haven't gotten around to. I keep forgetting about it, but I do.
Yeah,
check
watch it. It's so good. It's so inspiring, and it's just these guys hustled to get this put together, and the products the end product is fantastic. So yeah, if you get a chance, you got to watch that documentary. It's super good.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think that's a good list. I'll take that.
All right. Well, real quick, just as a kind of like an aside with that, With Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I'm kind of curious, how would you say it compares to Origins? Because Origins, I just finished getting all of the achievements in it.
Nice.
And so I'm just
Yeah,
curious about how they compare.
So I played as Cassandra because you can play either a female or a male protagonist. I played as Cassandra. It's very similar. The combat's very similar to Origins. I just think there's the story. I think the story's better, but there's so much to do in that game, and it's fun to do. Like there's a lot of challenging side missions as well. But I played both. I don't think did I platinum Origins? I don't know if I did, but I've played them both. But there's something about Odyssey, and maybe it's the time period, and there's something about Odyssey that I like a little bit more than Origins.
Okay.
I still think Black Flag is one of my favorite Assassin's Creeds, just because I loved the whole pirate aspect of it, and that was such a fun game. I have fond memories of that game, and that was so great. I'd love for them to do another one like that. But
well, Rogue is pretty much just like Black Flag.
Right, because it came out shortly after Black Flag too, and I like the idea of flipping the tables on that too. I just never played it, and I probably should go back and play it.
Well,
but
there is a
play it.
PS4 remaster of it.
Yes, that I know. So I'll have to check that out. That might be one that I'd be interested in.
Yeah,
but yeah,
they released both Black Flag and Rogue as a collection on Switch, and so I mean I had already played through Black Flag on PC, but I went ahead and got that collection and replayed Black Flag, and I mean apart from the frame rate being the 30 frames versus the 60 it was on PC, I really enjoyed playing it on Switch. I tried playing Rogue a bit, but it was just so similar, and I put like 100 hours into Black Flag, so I was just kind of like, I think I need a little bit of break from this particular.
Oh, I feel you on that. Yeah, if you do, like, I was curious what the whole From Software issue was going to be, because Bloodborne is completely one way, but I was pleasantly surprised. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back to back From Software games, but Sekiro is nothing like Bloodborne. In fact, I've said it on the podcast, to me, it is a harder but way cooler Assassin's Creed, in my opinion, because you have the stealth aspects of it. You have all these different skill levels and skill sets that you can do. You have these different weapons. It's just, I am hook, line, and sinker on this game right now. I'm going through all of the endings for it just because I'm debating going for the platinum. I think there's still some things I got to go back and kind of backtrack on. But I'm not a huge platinum hunter, but if there's a game that I love, I will definitely look at it, and I'll check the trophies and see what we got. But yeah, it's one of those as well.
Yeah, you're talking about Sekiro actually pretty much convinced me that I'm going to give it a shot. I haven't
please
bought
do.
it yet, but I'm just waiting for a good sale on it, and when I feel like I actually am ready to dive in, because I mean I always thought it looked cool, but it's just intimidating, those kinds of games.
Oh, dude, I know it's beautiful though, and honestly, like, you should totally do it, because I was intimidated by Bloodborne, and I remember I went through the first 4 hours of Bloodborne were probably super frustrating, but the completionist in me just kept saying keep going, because I always looked at From Software games, and I've looked at those style games and be like, I know I'm totally gonna suck at these games. And you know what, when I started Bloodborne, like, after a while and getting used to it, I was pleasantly surprised that, hey, I'm actually not as bad as I think I am at these games. And then throw in Sekiro, which to me is nothing like a Bloodborne or a Dark Souls game at all, but it has those challenging combat mechanics. But once you get it, dude, it's so gratifying when you have bosses. The bosses are tough, but you're gonna die. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're gonna die a lot, and you usually do in a lot of these From Software games. You will die a ton, but you keep going. There's just something about these games. They're like, man, one more time, and I know I can get this guy. And when you do that, you usually end up doing it, and you keep advancing. But yeah, please play that game. I think you would love it, especially if you're an Assassin's Creed guy like I am, and you put that much time into Origins. I think you'll love Sekiro, and it's beautiful. It's really well done. The VO is really cool. It's all in Japanese with the English subtitles, and I enjoy it. I think it's got a really cool vibe.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more my kind of game than the Dark Souls and
Yeah.
Bloodborne and that sort of thing, because like I tried playing Demon Souls on PS3, which was like the Dark Souls predecessor, and I played it for like 15 minutes, and it's just the vibe of it. It was just so oppressive and stressful, and it was just like, you know what, this is not a game for me. So I didn't play anymore. I mean, I didn't die or anything. It's like this just isn't the kind of game for me. But Sekiro looks much better than that.
Oh, it's definitely, it's brighter. It's not as heavy. It's a great story. It's definitely lighter and brighter. Like, I thought Bloodborne, you're right. Like, Bloodborne was super depressing. It's dark. It's dank. It's Bloodborne. There's blood, there's creatures, there's weirdness, there's all kinds of stuff everywhere. Sekiro has a nice mix of, you have enemies that are normal, and then you do have some magical, mystical enemies, but they're cool. Like, it's not really dark at all, in my opinion. And it's a great adventure game. It's super fun, and it's nothing like Bloodborne. That's the funny part. Like, to me, it's nothing like it. Like, yeah, the boss fights, there's some elements of it, but you have so many things available to you, and especially once you get the combat mechanics down with parrying and dodging and all the different attacks you can do, it really opens it up, and it just makes it super fun.
Yeah.
So play it.
All right, I will take your word for it, and I will definitely play it. I just don't know when.
Yep. No, I'm with you. That's always been my thing. But for me, like right now, there's not a ton of new games currently right now that are out yet, and so these past couple months have just been kind of some backlog. And I was gonna go back and play. You know, I had never done the Nathan Drake collection. I mean, I started with 2, but I never did 1, and I'd love to do that again. And but then, you know, I just went through, and then I was like, man, everyone's talking about Sekiro, and I looked up just some small gameplay. I'm like, I gotta try this, and that's all I've been playing for the past 2 months.
Yeah, I always love it when you find a game that just completely enthralls you and that just draws you in, and you're okay with that being the only thing you play. I mean, it's just
and you never
so
expected it either. Like, I had that click, that buy button right there, and I was like, should I buy this? Should I not? I'm gonna go for it. And I'm so glad I did, because it's just one of those games where once it clicks with you, you're like, this is awesome. I'm loving this game.
Yeah, you had talked a little bit on the podcast one time about potentially trying out Monster Hunter World. And it's, I mean, I haven't played World. I've played some of the ones on 3DS and one of the ones on Switch, and they are kind of similar to Dark Souls in the sense of, I guess just kind of how the combat feels, maybe, but as far, I mean, like, I would say they're probably not as hard. They are really fun though, and I do think that's
graphically. I thought Monster Hunter. Yeah, I think, and I looked graphically at Monster Hunter World. I'm like, man, it looks really good too. Like, I love those kind of, like, I never knew how I felt like with boss battles, because like you could spend a good 10-15 minutes on a boss, and like some of these games you spend way longer than that. What always scares me about that is, like, if I'm done, I got to start all the way over again. And there's a few boss battles like that with Sekiro, but I didn't mind it so much, because that you start to recognize the different patterns, and then you kind of can figure out how to dodge that or parry that or block that. And so, like, it wasn't that, like, I just spent the past 2 days on this boss that the rhythm was just weird, and I couldn't figure out the right combination of deflecting and parrying and then getting into attack, and I finally got it this morning. But like I said, I don't have a problem with it. Like, yeah, you get frustrated a little bit, but at the same time, you just keep going back to it. So I love games that do that don't just frustrate you right off the bat. And I think From Software does a really good job of that, because their games are typically very tough. And that's what I was always afraid to play one of those games, because I've heard these are super tough. And when I started with Bloodborne, I'm like, yeah, it's tough. And it's, you know, I was frustrated many a times, but I kept going at it. And once you kept going at it and kind of get over that hump, then it makes it more fun.
All right. Well, we've talked a lot about games, and so now I want to get into more of the dad aspect of this whole discussion. So I
love it.
Kind of leading into that, So you obviously do the video game podcast, but what is it that you actually do for a living specifically?
I'm a web developer, and so I can go anywhere. So I can work from home, and then if my wife is ready to go to the store, then I pack up my laptop and off we go. And so I love that. I have a company called Milk Money Promotions. I've been doing this for 18 some odd years. And so I do web development, and I do a lot of web development for some marketing teams that I've been working with for the past 15 years that work in like independent faith and family-based films. And so I've just been working with this same crew, and like they've got a film that's coming out, and so I do the website for it, and then I'll also do e-blasts and all kinds of fun stuff. So my realm is web and online development, and so that's pretty much what I do most of the time. So I have tremendous flexibility, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. It's so great to be able to it's challenging on so many levels because it's your business. You are your own boss. There is nobody else to blame if something goes wrong, if there's an issue, but yourself. And for me, that's more motivation to just keep going and make it happen.
Absolutely. And you had, of course, mentioned that you've been married for quite a while. How long have you actually been married?
It's 21 years.
21.
So I met Lauren. We were in college. I went to the University of Delaware, and I met her sophomore year in college. And so we've known each other, I think, for 25 or 26, married 21. So it'll be actually 22 in October, which is pretty cool.
So this will probably make you feel old. When you got married, I was 12 years old.
Ugh, gross. Gross. No, that's fine. Hey, it is what it is, man. You can't stop time. And yes, I'm getting older, but my attitude is, I may be older, but I still want to do things. I'm not going to sit around. I want to be active. I want to be with my family. I want to play video games, and I want to be a kid. I still forever want to be a kid. And so, I like that. I like having that attitude because it makes things a little bit lighter, and it makes it more fun.
So speaking of...
But yes, thank you for making me feel old. I appreciate that.
Speaking of being a kid, how long have you been a dad? You mentioned that you have one daughter.
Yeah, I have one daughter. So Lauren and I took our time with kids. We did not want kids initially. We got married when I was 23. So, we were a year after we graduated college, so we wanted to kind of take our time, and we waited 13 years to actually have Piper. So Piper was born in 2012. And so she's 8 now, and I love being a girl dad, man. It's great. We were toying with having more, but actually with Piper, Lauren had high blood pressure, which is genetics, and it's in her family, and so we called Piper. She caused mommy Pipertension, because when she was pregnant, her blood pressure issues started coming to fruition, and then when she was born, we were actually in the hospital for about a week and a half after she was born because they could not get her blood pressure down. She was eclamptic, and so we were sitting in the hospital for about a week and a half trying to figure out how to get her blood pressure down. It was getting dangerously high. But you know what's funny? I look back during that time, and it was actually a really great time. All three of us were together. Piper, they would bring Piper into the nursery. Like the hospital that we stayed at was a women's hospital anyway. Mm-hmm. So when she was, we had a room, and they would take Piper at night in the nursery, and they would give us formula. They were fantastic. And so a lot of it was just a waiting game, trying to find out, okay, let's see if this prescription or this medication works for you. You wait 24 hours, take her blood pressure again, and then it doesn't. And so there was a lot of stress there for a little while, but it was actually kind of nice family time too, because now we were a family of 3. All that to say, Piper took a while as well, and so I think we came to the conclusion, I think, that God just wanted us to have one.
Yeah.
And I'm fine. And honestly, I'm very much fine with that. And I love being a girl dad. I'm actually really glad we had a daughter. It's just super fun, and it's a good time. I probably won't be saying that when she's 12, 13, and the hormones start kicking in. Definitely not looking forward to that at all. But at the same time, she's my daughter. I'm still gonna love her. I'm not gonna you got to power through that. And I think especially with a girl, I think open and honest and being transparent with her, I think is going to help it in the long run. Because I think girls can process things a little bit better sometimes than boys can. And so just being able to talk to her is probably going to get me through those teenage years, which I'm dreading.
Yeah. Well, I definitely wish luck to you in that, and I'm still a long way from experiencing that with my daughters.
Yeah,
but
I'll let you know how it goes. Maybe I'll be moving up to Alaska with you.
Well, I mean, you lived in Minnesota for a while, right?
No, I was in Philly. I stayed in. I'm a northerner.
For some reason, I was thinking Minnesota was where you were originally.
No, I have friends who are from Minnesota, but no. So Lauren's from New Jersey, and I'm originally from Philadelphia, and that's how we met. We went to school at University of Delaware. So yeah, we were Northeasterners, and now like all of our family is here. They love being here in Nashville, and it's a great town, and we've been here as long as we've been married. So it's a really cool town. I dig it.
So what would you say? How has your experience been as a father?
Everybody says that when you have a child that it changes your life. I think it enhances it a little bit because you're now responsible for something else besides yourself and besides your spouse. There is something else out there that you need to take care of. And I enjoy the challenge of it, and I enjoy just being able to be there with it. So I love being a father. Like yeah, it's just, it's funny. I don't know if Lauren and I did it all again, I still think we would take those first couple years and just focus on ourselves. Cause it was great. We were able to travel. We went to Italy and we went to London and did that kind of stuff. But like a lot of people, once you have kids, that all stops. And one of the things I try not to do is don't stop your life just because of your children. Like this past summer, we had an opportunity to go to London. We found this amazing Expedia deal. And so, dang it, we took Piper with us and we had a great family trip. This was her first time out of the country. She went to London. She has a passport, and we had an amazing time together. It was just great being in a place that she didn't know, that none of us really knew, and like looking through all this history, and like it's funny, she loves history, and we just had good quality time together. And like, I don't want to have a child and then push her off to a babysitter or whatever all the time. And like, I want to be involved, and I want her to be involved in what mommy and daddy are doing too, so that she can see that we are a tight family unit. And so I love that aspect of it, and just, tag them along. Yes, sometimes I completely want to punch her in the face because she's being bratty, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, that's going to happen. You're not going to change that at all. That's all part of growing up, because you were that way once too. So it all works out in the end, but I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm having a great time with it.
Well, I do want to say, to be fair, one of the reasons why I think a lot of people don't do as much traveling and everything when they have kids is more just sometimes it's the difficulties, but a lot of it's also cost, and it also depends on how many kids you have. Like, I mean, last summer my family, we all flew down to Boston because my sister was getting married out there, and so had to pay for 4 plane tickets flying from Alaska. Then we had a rental car, hotel, food, other various costs. I mean, it added up a lot, and that's really the major reason why people don't do it. But it also just kind of depends on where you are financially and all that stuff too.
Yeah, that's very true. And for me, it's not just that as well. I mean, we can have fun going down to the park too, but I think I agree with you, especially with multiple kids. Just ask Gabe. The logistics of traveling can be daunting, and I can see that being really super stressful. It is easier. I will say we have it easier because we have the one, because we can manage, both of us can manage her and ourselves, and it works out easier. So we are fortunate in that aspect of it. But I like to be involved now, especially now that she's getting older. Like, I don't want to be this dad that's not involved in her life. Like, I take her to school in the morning, I pick her up, I'll take her to whatever she needs to go to. Like, Piper's new thing is competitive cheer. She absolutely loves it. It's the thing that she's gravitated to. So we basically canceled everything else, and that's all we do. And I love being a cheer dad and, and supporting her because she absolutely loves it. And if she loves something like that, then you want to make sure that you put the effort to do so as well. So
Absolutely.
it's fun, man. It's interesting, that's for sure. But I definitely think it enhances your life, and I think it's a great thing to have. It teaches. There are a lot of life lessons learned from having to be responsible for somebody else that's not your spouse and that's not you.
Yeah. So then another question I have is, how is it that you find time to game with being married and having a daughter and having this full-time job?
Yeah. So Lauren isn't a gamer. She doesn't understand it, and I'm fine. That's fine. I'm fine with that. Piper doesn't she got a Switch and she's been playing some, I need to really get her Mario Kart, by the way, because what she wanted to play was, what is she playing right now? Well, we got Tetris 99, but shoot, what did we get? Smash Brothers. That's what she wanted. And I'm like, you want Smash Brothers? Because one of her friends had it, and so she played it. And so, but she doesn't actively go out and play a ton of games right now either. So for me, I make time. So I'm an early riser. So I'll get up at like 5:30, and I'll game for an hour before I start my day. If everybody's going to bed, I'll go up and game. The one thing I do not do is, if the family's up and around in the house, I'm not going to game, and I'm going to stay with the family during that time. And I think that's actually helpful, because that way you're with the family, and then you make your time later when either everyone's asleep or, when no one's here or what have you. I feel like that's probably the most responsible adulting thing for me to do in my video gaming, is to not do it when family's around, but to do it. And it's not in a secretive form. It's just in, hey, they're sleeping, I'm going to play some video games. Or, hey, they're out running errands, I'm going to go play some video games. But when they're here, I want to be here and present with them, and we'll watch a movie together or do whatever. So I think it's important to have a little bit of that balance. Now, if your family are gamers, then congratulations, you won the golden ticket. And you guys can all have family game nights and that kind of stuff, which we still might be able to do with the Switch is so good when it comes to that stuff, because you can definitely have a lot of participatory games that the family can get involved with. But we haven't. There hasn't been a whole lot of interest from the girls, and honestly, I don't push it either. Because for me, I'm kind of possessive of it too, because this is my thing, and I appreciate that, and let me do that. That's my fun stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of, well, I wouldn't say I'm the opposite, but I would say that the way I tend to do things is different. I mean, I typically don't game a ton during the time that, I could be spending time with my family, but
right.
If my kids are just being very difficult, sometimes they just need to watch something, and they love to watch the video games. My oldest especially absolutely loves Yoshi, and so
and
then
I can see that.
Passed
That's
on
perfect.
to his younger brother and younger sister, and so sometimes I'll just put on some Yoshi gameplay or something for them to watch, and they just get so excited and they're so happy about it. And then other times, as long as the game isn't violent, I mean super violent or gory or things like that. I wouldn't play Shadow of Mordor in front of them, but
I forgot about that game too. That might be up there in my top 5. Gosh, those games are so good. I played both of them and platinumed both of them. I did, and I'm not a huge trophy hunter either. But those games, I just wanted to keep playing them, so I would check the trophy list and be like, yeah, we're going. This is going to be great. I love those games. Dang it.
But yeah, I'll still play some other things in front of them, and usually, just as long as it's not something scary or whatever.
Exactly.
Scary or super
I mean, you're
gory.
responsible enough. You're gonna pick the right games that your kids can watch, and I love that they love Yoshi. That's perfect for them. I can totally see them loving that. So that's great.
Yeah. So, what is something that you wish you had realized sooner in parenting?
probably to save a little bit more money. It's not cheap having a child, that is for sure. And you know what's funny? We had to immediately, because of Lauren's blood pressure, we had to go straight to formula, and so that isn't cheap either.
Yeah.
But you know, we were fortunate there because some kids, you know, have to have a special formula because, you know, they're having some issues, and that's even more expensive.
Yeah.
But I don't. I think just being able to save a little bit more probably would have been nice.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Honestly, that's why I work. I work to support my family and
Yeah.
my kids, and that just kind of comes with the territory.
What's the most surprising thing you learned in parenting your daughter?
More patience. I feel like I'm typically a pretty patient man, but the difference is that with the girls, they process the information different. So if I'm yelling or if I'm raising my voice, they take that as yelling, and that then I think emotionally they kind of shut down, and that's the frustrating part for me. Is like I'm not trying to yell at them. I'm just trying to tell her, hey, do this, this, and this, and I have to take a step back, breathe a second, listen to what she's saying first, because I want let her get her thing out first, and then I can talk. Because I go right, like as soon as she starts saying something silly or something that isn't right or whatever, I immediately go after it, versus letting her finish and then being able to respond. And so just having a little bit of that patience and that balance of, you know, how she processes what I say and the tone that I say it in, I think that's always been something that I try to work on.
What are some tips that you would give to dads who have young daughters or are going to be having daughters? And when I say young daughters, I mean, like, in my case, my daughter is 13 months old.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's just have fun with it, man. I'll never forget. So we had a really good Lauren and I had a good dynamic when Piper was a baby, because Lauren likes to stay up late and I like to get up early. And it wasn't always that way. We both used to be pretty late nighters, but I just, for some reason, I started switching. And like, if I was working on a project, I would rather go to bed earlier and then like get up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to start working. I don't know. I feel more refreshed when I've at least had some sleep, versus staying up and your brain is just still going and going. So we had a really good dynamic early on. And I just remember the feedings. Like I had, like I would have like the 3 o'clock in the morning feedings on. And during that time was when The Walking Dead first came out and Boardwalk Empire and all this other stuff. And she doesn't know anything about it. And so I'm sitting there in the den feeding her a bottle, watching The Walking Dead. And so like I have great memories of that with her.
Yeah.
Like she's there. She doesn't know what's going on. But just that, ooh, we're going to get up. Ooh, what's going to happen this next episode? And all the while I'm still being able to feed my daughter and just be there with my daughter. And I loved that. And so my overnight feedings were a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed them. But I don't know. I think it could go for son or daughter, but I enjoy. She was a good baby, thankfully, and I just enjoyed her. This is something that we created, and it's pretty miraculous. And you know, this is something we need to take care of and hold on to and cherish. And I don't know. Something clicked, and I was just happy, and I wanted to be around her, and I wanted to be with my family, and it was, I don't know, there was just something about it. It was just super cool. So embrace it. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it and just dive in, man. Help out any which way you can. Like I did my fair share of diaper duty all the time, anywhere we had to, and just be there, be helpful, be there with them. Because honestly, I think especially when they get older, and especially now at Piper's age at 8, like they're like sponges. They process a lot of things. So how you act and respond towards your spouse and how, like, they just pick up on all those things, and they'll pick up phrases from you too that you didn't think that you could. And they really are. They're like sponges. So just be aware of that and like show them, just show them that you're present and you're there. And I think that goes a long way with them. It did for me growing up too. I mean, we were a military family, and so we traveled around a lot. I have an older brother. He's 4 years older than I am, And so it was weird because, you know, right when we all had our like group of friends, you know, there was a time when we were transferred or we were moving somewhere else. And so my brother and I had to start all over again. And so we would start with just the two of us being together and doing stuff, and then we would slowly find our friends. But throughout that whole time, like, my parents were still present. They still loved, you know, showed affection for one another. We all had family dinners together, and that dynamic never changed. So that consistency, I think, was really helpful. Because when you're young, you would pick up on that kind of stuff. You know, why isn't daddy here? Why isn't mommy here? You know, they'll pick up on those kind of things. But I also get that you have to work too, so you know, you gotta pay the bills and you gotta do your thing. So you know, it's just, there's always that balance there.
Definitely. All right. Well, that's all I have for questions. So, do you have any final thoughts?
Man, I love games. I love being a dad. I love games. I love everything about it, man. Because for me, I think it keeps me young, and I enjoy it. And I enjoy talking to other people about games. I get super excited. That's another thing on the podcast. Like, we all get super excited about games. Oh, what are we all playing? And yeah, it's just the community that we have just helps reinforce that as well. And you know, play with good people and have fun with it. And it's just so much fun. I am not a huge multiplayer person either. I'm a very single player kind of a guy, just because I like kind of doing things myself and doing it my way. But I play some Overwatch, and when you jump on, it's a whole nother level, and it's so much fun. I've had some really hard laughs on playing multiplayer with some of the guys and some of our community late night, and it's hysterical. You never know what can come out of it, and it's a lot of fun. Oh, I meant to ask you, what are you playing right now? Like, what's your go-to that you're like 100% sunk into?
Well, right now, I mean, I just finished Assassin's Creed Origins. I did all the DLC and everything last week. I finished
nice.
It up, so after I finished that, I decided to basically hop back into Destiny 2.
Nice.
Though I haven't been able to play much. Just because I've had other things come up, but I got the they had the original Doom and, well, all of the Doom games on Switch were on sale. So like the original Doom and Doom 2 were $1.50 a piece.
Wow.
So I got both of those, and I also got the 2016 Doom as well, and I played all the way through the original Doom, and this is my first time ever playing through it. And I've been playing Doom 2.
Wow. See, now that's another game that I think would be super intimidating for me because it's so fast-paced.
Well,
and that kind of freaks me out a little.
The original one is not bad at all. It really isn't.
Okay.
The only thing that takes getting used to is that when it comes to aiming, there's no moving your gun up and down. It's just side to side. And so that aspect is a little weird, but I mean, it's also, the game was made in 1993, so
right,
it's,
of course,
you know, it's old, but it's actually a really short game. I think it's pretty easy to finish within a couple of hours. And
oh wow, okay.
I mean, it's fun too. I really enjoyed it, and you can, like, if you're the kind of person who prefers to save as you go, kind of like in Skyrim, you know, where you can save at any time.
Yes.
You can do quick saves really easily on there.
Yeah.
So
quick saves saved my butt in Skyrim, and I played Dead Space too, and that was, well, you actually had to get to a saving point at Dead Space, but yeah, Skyrim, thank God for the saves, because that helped a lot.
But yeah, the original Doom, it's not hard to get into at all. I mean,
that's so cool.
It seems like it is kind of fast paced, and I imagine that the newest one that came out is probably like super fast, but it's very arcadey, and it's fun.
That's awesome.
I think it's something you'll probably enjoy.
When Bethesda had their press conference and they announced like the kind of revamp of Doom, and I saw the gameplay, I'm like, I can't keep up. Holy cow, this is so fast paced. I mean, it's cool looking and it looks insane, and I'm like, I don't know if I could do that, because I would just be like, panicking over, oh, where I got to go and who do I got to shoot.
Well,
But that's
then you
good
just
to
play
know.
on the Switch where it's only 30 frames per second, and you're good to
Hey,
go.
there you go. Then you slow it down a little bit and you're fine.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
most
awesome.
games are 30, so it's like,
Yep.
it's not too bad to do. I was tempted to get it on PC because PC, I have a monitor that can do, at least with my graphics card, up to 144 frames per second, which is
Nice.
it's fast, super smooth. But I knew that I was probably going to still want it on Switch, so I decided, I'll just start with the low frame rate version, the
There
one
you
that
go.
doesn't look as
Yep.
good. And then if I really, really, really like it and want to, then I'll get the high frame rate one. But yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's hilarious. It's kind of like in Mario Kart. You start with the 50cc and then kind of work your way up.
Exactly.
That's really funny.
Did you ever try 200cc in Mario Kart?
Yes. Holy cow! I was like, whoa!
I can't.
I'm
do
like,
it.
oh boy,
I mean, you
yeah.
have to be able to brake to do that.
Yes.
And I just
Yeah.
like it's so foreign to me because Mario Kart I'm just used to accelerating and drifting, but you have to be able to brake in order to do well in 200cc.
And you have to. It's all in that timing too, and it's just like like I love the drifting and the banking and all that stuff, and but yeah, it's tricky. It's like if I'm playing with Piper, it's always on the 50cc just because she wouldn't be able to handle it at all. She's like running into the walls anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely challenging. That stuff is crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to eventually playing games with my kids. I think my oldest, who's 4, is probably about ready to maybe start, but it's just kind of hard to tell, especially because he's...
What's the first game you're going to start with?
Well, I mean, it's either going to be Super Mario Brothers or Yoshi's Island on Super Nintendo.
I was going to say, he'd probably be familiar with Yoshi, right? So
yeah,
that
I mean,
might
he's
be a
familiar
nice,
with it,
transition.
but it has a lot more buttons, and so I'm not sure if it would be a little too much for him as the first game he plays.
Yeah,
whereas,
that's true.
Super Mario Brothers, it's just 2 buttons on the D-pad. So.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, you'll just have to see and find out.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tim, it has been awesome talking to you.
Thank you so much
for coming on for this interview. And,
of course, man.
I hope to continue this progress later. At some point, I'm going to be interviewing Gabe as well.
Yes,
he said probably after the tour is up, and I have some other guys lined up as well. But working on getting as many people as I can lined up. So eventually, maybe this can be a weekly thing. But either way,
I love that. It's a great thing to do.
Yeah, I'm just really glad to have been able to have you on.
Oh man, no problem, man. Thanks for reaching out to me. I love doing this stuff. It's just like talking to people, and especially if it's video game related. Yeah, man, let's talk. And what I love about what you're doing is you're also incorporating the family part of it too, because there are millions of dads out there that play games or want to play games, and I think that can be daunting sometimes. How do you balance that? And once you find something that you enjoy and you're passionate about, you'll figure it out. It all kind of starts coming together, and having something like this is a great way for people to learn more about it too. So I applaud you for bringing on this topic. I think it's a good idea.
All right, well, Tim, where can people get in touch with you? I know you're not real much of a social media guy, but
No, I'm really not, but I like to stalk. Like, I like seeing the stories. I never post. It's so funny. Like, even in the Discord and just with our Twitter account, you will very rarely see me post anything. But we have a website, marriedtothegames.com. We're pretty active on Twitter as well, at MTTGcast, Facebook.com/marriedtothegames. We have a YouTube channel as well, Married to the Games there as well. So basically everything is Married to the Games, except for the Twitter feed is at MTTGcast. And so, we're always on there, and you can catch us. I think our podcast is on Spotify and iTunes and all the major podcast streaming services. We are around, and there are a lot of episodes, and it's fun to see like new people if they come right in the beginning or if they go all the way back. And I'm like, oh man, if you're going all the way back, good luck. It's there's a lot there, but it's fun. I enjoy it, and some of those episodes I have really great memories, and sometimes I'll go back and listen to them for that as well. It's a lot of fun to listen to how we progressed over these past 8 years almost, which is crazy.
Yeah, I need to find that episode again where it was just you and Timothy Hall, because I mean,
Yes,
I
It was when
just
Gabe
vaguely
was.
remember because it was the only time Gabe was gone, and it was
Yeah, he was out of the country, I think, and so there was like really no way. I think he was able to jump on a little bit, but he was out of the country, and so it was just Hall and I, and Hall was awesome. Because he totally did the downplay of the
that's
"Oh yes, yes,
right.
y'all."
I remember
It was
now.
really, it was really funny. Like that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Like I
man.
love going back and listening to some of that stuff and just being like, "Oh man, I remember that." And it was so funny because Piper was like super young at the time
Yeah.
too, and so it was, it was. It's a lot of fun. But thank you so much for listening as long as you have too, man. Like you're one of the OGs, and we appreciate you, and you're part of our great community that you put together. So any way we can support you in any way, we're here. So.
All right. Well, until next time, this has been the Frozen Gamer, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.